take a shocking subject and talk about it. We actually have, like I say, we have the 3 different coilover setups that I use. First, why do I use coilover shocks? For 2 really good reasons. One, you can adjust ride height. So you're not stuck. You get, like aftermarket springs off the shelf. You put them on your car. You're stuck with whatever ride height those springs are set at. Maybe it's too low. Maybe it's too high. With a coilover, you can actually adjust the ride height to where you want it. So that's the first thing. The second thing is spring rate. I am really big on spring rates, getting the spring rates right, because getting your spring rates right, that really has a whole lot to do with how your car handles. So I'm really big on getting the spring rates right. And with the coilovers, I can actually choose the spring rates I want. If you buy a coilover package from us, a couple things. First of all, I get on the phone with you, and we're going to talk about how you're using the car, what your driving experience is of a track car, your level of experience, what kind of tires you're using, what kind of power you got. I take all those things into account, and then I figure out what's going to be the right, or I say what I feel is going to be the best spring rate to start off with. And the thing about spring rates is it's kind of cool, because the coilovers, if you want to go up, you want to go down, you just take them off, take one spring off, drop the other spring on. It's pretty easy. So, when you talk to me, I'm going to set you up with the spring rate I think is going to be the right one for you. And like I say, it's always, we can go up or down. People just starting out on track days, I'll typically start them a little low on spring rate. And then as they get more experience, we'll go up. To give you an idea on my spring rates, and this is different from anybody else, although there's people starting to copy me now. So I guess their competitors are watching Cars and Coffee to learn what they don't know. To give you an idea, like a S197 Mustang, the front spring rates are in the, off the top of my head, 130, 140 range, somewhere in there. Any off the shelf aftermarket springs that you can get are going to be anywhere from 200 to 220. Lowering springs will probably be 190. Performance springs 200 to 220, and that's about it. And the thing is, anytime you increase spring rate, you really need to put a better shock absorber on, because the spring rates and shocks have to work together. They're a team. And if you've got more spring than the shock can handle, then you got a weak team. So it's like, that's about as good as you can get. To give you an idea, our touring package is a 350 front, street performance 400, novice intermediate track is 500, advanced track on good tires and good brakes is 650. And if you think that's a lot, on the world channel, on my late son Paul's World Challenge Mustang, we were running with Pirelli slicks. We're running 850 to 950 spring rate. And that's something else, is the stickier the tire you put on your car, the more spring rate you need. The absolute worst thing you can do is, for stock suspension for a track day, buy some used slicks and put them on your car. That's not, it's not the thing to do. And I'll get into that on another day, but I said, just, you can't do that. Not good things can happen from that, because you've got to have spring rate for sticky tires. Okay, with that, let's kind of jump into, where do I want to start today? I think I will start with our strange package for like the SN95s. We were having a problem coming up with a good coilover package for the SN95/Fox. So when we were in Chicago, I went to Strange Engineering with my notebook of all my little shock dynos that I had collected over the years. And I sat down with Dimitri, their shock guy, and I said, okay, here's some shocks, some shock dynos that I kind of like. And can you copy that or build me a shock like that? And he said, sure. So they've been building custom shocks for me ever since. And you're going to say, getting shocks from Strange is strange, isn't it? No pun intended, because they're like 98% drag racing. Well, that's true, except they're building custom shocks for me specifically to my valving specifications. So this is the coilover package we have for SN95. And this is the front. And this is a double adjustable. The bump adjustments on the bottom, the rebound adjustments on top. And we always, well, any coilover package we do, there's anatomy to this. Down here is the torsion release bearing, which, and this is the helper spring. Because we run such high spring rates, if you were to jack up the car, if you didn't have the this helper spring, the spring would drop down, and then when you jack it up, it goes bong back into its space. That's why we have the helper springs. But the torsion release bearing, I'll show you that in a minute, is really important because as the shock moves up and down, it does this little twisty thing, and that torsion release bearing helps not pass that through to the adjusters, and it just makes it better. And this for the SN95, this is our Caster Plus. We only have camber adjustment on my for SN95 and Fox cars, and the reason being, a long time ago, you know, we're getting caster camber plates, and every single time we aligned a car, I put maximum caster in. So I started thinking to myself, if we're putting maximum caster in, why do we need a caster camber adjustment? So we found if we went to fixed caster, which we moved it all the way back as far as it would go, we actually got an extra half a degree or so of caster. And if you've been with me for a while, you know, I just absolutely love caster. So, and then this adjusts pretty easy. Yeah, it just takes a little 3/8 wrench. And the bottom adjust is clicks from full soft, and the top is actually sweeps. So when you get the setup sheet from me, it's on the bottom, it's going to say number of clicks, and on the top, it's going to be in fourths, 1/4, 2/4, 3/4, 4/4 for how many turns. Now on the back, okay, this is a single adjustable, and on the back they have adjusters or knobs. Single is on one side, and if it was double adjust, it would be on the other side. But something kind of special we do with these is up here. This is where it mounts onto the rear shock tower, and this right here is Delrin. And the reason for that is when we're, you know, it's pretty much the bushings that come on the shock are designed for, you know, just a shock absorber. But when you put the spring and the shock together, you're putting all the load of the spring into the shock tower, and that's why we go to Delrin, so it's solid. And on top is a really, really firm rubber bushing. Okay, moving up the scale. This is our H&R S package, and it actually, it's kind of like a quasi-progressive. This is like a 630 spring rate, but it's not really that bad of a ride because this has really, really good shock valving in it. This is a German-built shock, and you can see we got the caster camber plates on top. We haven't come up with Caster Plus for the 197 cars yet, but this one, you adjust on the bottom. You can see a little knob down there, and it tells you how to adjust it. And again, when you get the shocks from me, they're assembled, ready to install, along with a setup guide. Now, the thing that I wanted to tell you is that when you put on a package like that, it kind of mimics the factory spring as far as the upper mount. So what we have to do is we buy a brand new mount from Ford, and we take it apart. So we get the spring perch and then the bearing, and then the camber plate just pushes right onto that. So if you're getting a shock like this, we've got the only two we have are the RSS and then the H&R Street Performance package. You really, instead of trying to do the one you have in the car, it's just it's just good practice. Just go get one from Ford, a brand new one from Ford. Now in this package, the rear shocks are not coilover and they're non-adjustable, which kind of makes life easy. And this just reuses the factory shock mount. But what we do in the back, even though it's not coilover, it's a divorced spring, there's an adjuster, so you can still adjust the ride height in the back as well as the front. Okay, moving right along. This is our premium shock package. This is the JRZ. This is a single adjustable, and these shocks are custom built for me in the Netherlands. And I got exposed to JRZ back in 2011 when my late son Paul won the World Challenge Championship, GTS Championship in 2011. He pretty much dominated. Incidentally, if you can see that I've been to the dermatologist this week, and part of the reason for that is Paul 2011. He just dominated World Challenge. In 2012. Unfortunately, he passed from melanoma. So I see the dermatologist every 3 months religiously, just because I've seen what an ugly disease that is. So anyway, getting back to the JRZ, this is a single adjustable package. Now this adjusts with a knob on top. Okay, and this is a really broad range of adjustment. It'll take a ton of different spring rates, which makes it a really cool shock. And JRZ, if you look up JRZ suspensions, they are a really big major racing shock builder in Europe. That's why I said, I think some of the guys actually were at Coney like decades ago, and they went and had a better idea and started building their own shocks. So the JRZs are a really premium shock. This is a single adjustable. The next step up would be a double adjustable, in which the bump adjustment will be on the bottom, rebound on the top. Also, single adjustable shocks are mostly rebound adjustment, very little bump, because we do most of our tuning with rebound. And the reason for that is what rebound bump is. Bump kind of gets you from the turn into the center of the corner, and rebound gets you from the corner off. And the reason for that is as the spring compresses, going around the corner, you squash the spring down. Well, if you squash the spring down, what's it going to do? It's going to want to unsquash itself. So the amount of rebound controls how quickly or slowly that spring decompresses itself going around a corner. So that's why you've got to match your shocks and springs together. I mean, if you've got a spring that's heavier than what the rebound is in the shock, you're going to wear them out. You're going to get really bad ride quality and wear them out. So I'll show you a few extra pieces. Drop it. My head. Grab the wrong end of the envelope. Okay, this is a TRB, torsion release bearing, and you can see there's 3 pieces to it. There's a flat washer, the bearing itself, another flat washer, and that takes all the torsion out. Now, something else on the JRZ, you saw that it had a little red knob on top. Well, to get that knob off, it takes a 1.5 millimeter Allen wrench. So we actually include that with the kit. And the reason there's a piece of tape on there is so you can find it in your toolbox. And anytime for and these JRZs, any of the Allens I use, I always put a piece of tape on it so I can find them. So that's the torsion release bearing and the Allen. Now this is the rear, and again, the full package: torsion release bearing, mainspring, spacer, and then the helper spring. And again, we've got our Delrin bushing up here, and that's the Delrin bushing. We custom make those to fit. So that takes the load, and this is the top of it, and this is a really, really hard rubber bushing. So that makes for a really great package. And again, we've got, this is single adjustable, so we've got the adjuster on top, and all my shocks are adjusted from full soft up. I never start at full firm and go down. It's always full soft up. The reason is I want the shocks adjusted as soft as possible for compliance and control. A number of years ago, we had, 95. So 1995, and Ford came out with the Cobra R. You may remember that. It was a 351 Cobra. And they came with Coney double adjustable shocks. And more than once, we'd have people that think that, okay, this is a race car, double adjustable shocks. You just crank the shocks up, just adjust them all the way up to like hard, and the cars are undrivable. When you've got the shocks too hard, you're not getting compliance. You're skipping across the track, and it just won't do anything. So that's why we always start at full soft and work our way up from full soft until we get enough control. Control is what we're talking about, because control is compliance. Now, a couple other interesting things is when you get the JRZ, you get some nifty stuff. These actually come in the box, and the extra pads to put on your bench to lay your shocks on, which are kind of cool. And then of course you get this big sticker thing. You get a sticker thing too with the strange. And then of course you get their information package that comes with it. But also, here's the important thing. Any of those packages back there, the coilovers you see, you'll get them assembled and pre-adjusted to what I think a good starting adjustment will be for the spring rates. And from there, dialing in a car is a lot of just trial and error. But I start with an adjustment I think is going to be a good starting point. But from there, you need to adjust it for your application. But you always also get this shock setup sheet. And I have a record of this in my computer. It's got obviously your name, address, and phone number. And also, I have on there the type of shock you've got, the spring rate, any other information. And then down here at the bottom, it'll be the adjustments. This was a set of JRZ single adjustable, just like the ones I have back here with 650 front, 400 rear, which is kind of our typical advanced track setup. And you can see the rebound is 6 on the front and 4 on the back. Now, ultimately, I would expect somebody to be, when they're on track, adjusting for their driving style, to be up in the 7 to 9 range. But we'll start at 6, and because I like to start soft and work our way up. And then on the back, there's kind of like just a little letter on adjusting shocks, and then the bottom is kind of like a basic 101 on shock adjustment. Now, one more thing. When we started doing on the SN95, we started doing coilovers in 99 when the IRS came out. Actually, really not. It was 2000. In 2000, we really went to coilovers because that's when I built Kermie for SEMA, which is that's when we introduced our new 3.0 front suspension system. That's a clean sheet of paper, K-member control arms, caster plates. And then we also did a IRS package. We put an IRS in the car, and we completely changed the geometry at the back, tubular lower control arms, upper control arms, and we went to coilovers. Well, when we went to coilovers on the IRS cars, what we're doing is we're putting a lot of load into that shock tower in the back. So we developed a rear shock tower brace, and as you can see, I love triangles. Even though they're small, there's 2 triangles in there. It attaches the shock goes through there, and there's a couple of bolts that go through the side, and then this bolts in the center to make it nice and solid. In the last Speed Therapy Academy, Ben sent in some pictures he saw on the internet of a couple of different cars where they're running coilovers, and the shock tower on SN95, don't know if SN95 or a Fox, actually split and pulled away from the inner fender well. So that's why we added the rear shock tower brace for the SN95 cars. Now,